With me this week on the Agents to Owners podcast, I have Daniel Summers, the owner of Charles String Inc. out of Concord, North Carolina. After a 2-year stint in another insurance agency, Daniel decided to open his own independent agency in October 2020. Daniel specializes in trucking, and he does it very well. Has experienced enormous growth since he started 2 years ago. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about Daniel today and everything about Charles String. And with that, I'll welcome Daniel Summers to the show. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brad, for having me. This is pretty cool. I like the
Yeah.
setup.
Yeah, good. So like we always do, why don't you give us a little bit about your background and how you found your way into the insurance space?
I came kicking and screaming from a friend that was dragging me into it. I come from telecom, so like AT&T, Verizon, B2B sales. That's my background as far as the career before this. And I had a friend there that I worked with who left, got into insurance, and then eventually found his way into starting an agency and wanted me to come help him do it. And so I did that back in 2018. And I don't know, like at first I was like, no, insurance is boring. I don't want to do that. And then I started looking into it a little bit more and I was like, well, this can be lucrative. Like, and there's a lot of opportunity here. So I jumped on board. And at first we were just going to do like homeowners and personal auto, regular PNC, local shop, that type of thing. But my B2B background from Verizon, I dealt with actually like all different vertical like industries, right? But more specifically transportation. We were trying to sell these ELD vendors before the ELD mandate. If you're not familiar, it's just like electronic logging of hours. And then there was like a big mandate that took forever to implement. But Verizon was buying up a lot of companies that sold the hardware, and they were backed on the Verizon network. So that's where I kind of got my feet wet in transportation and learned a little bit about the industry. And so then that translated into going after trucking accounts with the agency I previously worked at, because I just, like I could sell one truck or I could sell like 4 to 10 houses, like it and make the same money. And plus, I just have a knack for more of the blue collar guys. That's kind of my thing. Like kudos to you if you like suits. That's not me. I don't know. I really love it, and I love what they do. Like everything around us. Like you reach out and touch anything you have, like probably moved on a truck, unless you grew it in your backyard. That's it's kind of close to home for me. But yeah, that's how I got into insurance. At some point in the previous agency, there are 2 investors. They didn't really want to give up equity, and I was like, I think I'm going to go do my own thing, and then that led to this. Yep. So October 2020, I started to shift towards this, and then I think I sold my first policy in November, and hardly anything else the rest of the year. So then I started a YouTube channel in January of 21, and that's where everything kind of went crazy. It took a little bit to get traction, but we were monetized in 61 days.
Incredible.
After the first month, it really took off. And I had like a referral partner that, just did like warm call leads with truckers looking for insurance, and had to shut them down because I was just getting too many calls in. Set up Calendly, then started requiring like scheduled calls for new business, which was pretty cool. It was a different dynamic. Like, normally you're doing anything you can to get someone on the phone. And like, that was like, hold up, now I'm going to push them back. And it created a little, like I have these levels of filters, right? And so one thing is scheduled calls. Like you've got to schedule an appointment with your doctor, right? Like you just don't walk in and say, hey, check out my knee, or I've got a cough, right? Like you got to schedule an appointment. And I don't have a medical degree, but I feel like I'm a pretty good professional in the trucking world of insurance. So the schedule calls thing is pretty cool. You're doing 2 things. You're finding the people that aren't like begging for something right now and need that immediate gratification, which helps you avoid a lot of like problems on the back end with service work. Oops, sorry, there goes my Apple Watch. So you're avoiding some of those like problem children, right? Like the people that need something right this second normally have an issue and are probably going to have more issues. So the people that are planning ahead and watching YouTube videos, self-educating, are learning about how a lot of this works. These are just like little filters in place that help you find like You know, I remember I went to a conference one time and they were talking about rating clients like A, B, C, D. And I was like, why would you take D clients? Like, like, you know, and how do you get the C's, the B's, and the B's, the A's? Like,
Yeah.
oh my God. Well, what if you just got A's, right? You know, maybe a few B's because
Yeah.
they make their way through. Like, that's certainly what we have, though. I wouldn't say I
Yeah.
have any C's or D's, right? Like, they just wouldn't make it through our onboarding process, essentially. They got to schedule a call. They got to talk to us first. They got to submit a quote form online. And then they got to schedule another call to go over the quote before they can bind. That's how that works. So
Yeah, you're
it's
pre-qualifying, you know, which
yeah,
is
yeah, in
and
a very like scheduled process. So time management's not so much an issue for us. There's times where we get bogged down on the service work, but it's kind of infrequent because we also pretty much only work with direct markets. So like if we need to go make a change on a policy, we're not waiting on an underwriter, waiting on a finance company, all the hold up and wait scenarios. We're not dealing with that.
yeah.
Um, that creates terrible customer experiences. So we try to
Yeah.
avoid that as much as possible. Yep.
So let's back up just a little bit. So when you decided to start your own agency, what did that look like? Did you you know, you had a few years experience in the business. Did you reach out to these it sounds like you had already decided you were going to go into the transportation sector, correct?
Yep.
So
Yep.
so
I made a
did
phone
you
call to
reach
Progressive.
okay.
I got the Progressive appointment initially, and that's pretty much all I had. Well, actually, I had National General as well right off the bat, or like within a couple months. Um, but you know, those that was it. It was like this is what I'm going to sell. I'm going to stay away from brokerages, MGAs. That way I can stay lean because it was just me. Uh,
Yeah.
Main thing was stay extremely efficient, very lean, because I had $11,000 in the bank when I started this, and I was going through a divorce. So it was like
Okay.
I gotta make it happen one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and it
So
worked. Thank God.
yeah, so a few months, I mean, not even basically right away, you started a YouTube channel.
Hmm.
And did you have any background in YouTube before you jumped in that? Had you made any videos
No,
before?
nothing whatsoever.
Really?
I was just frustrated at clients calling and asking about stuff that didn't exist, or
Mm.
expecting me to do what their friend told them that they did, and it's there's a lot of things lost in translation to begin with. In trucking and in insurance, one word means 10 things and 10 words mean one thing. So like I'm constantly translating, and that's
Yeah.
a big part of what we have to do. And then, set expectations. So I just got so frustrated hearing what other people said on YouTube videos or what they heard from somebody like at a truck stop or family friend, whatever. So I started making videos one night and
Mhm.
I didn't know what I was doing. I kept cussing up a storm at myself, like messing up what I wanted to say, staring into a camera. Super awkward.
Yeah.
And then like I didn't know anything about editing. So I started watching other YouTube videos.
Yep.
YouTube University taught me a lot. Um, I'm still not great at it. I've wasted some money on some cool equipment because I
Yeah.
like playing with it. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. It's a constant like improvement. But no, it's fun. It got a little bit addicting. There's like that feedback loop, right? Like you make a video and then you see how what responses you get out of it. And
Yeah.
so that part, like that's where it gets a little addicting. It's kind of fun and never experienced that before. So it was really awesome. And I'll tell you a funny story.
Yeah.
There's a Waffle House like 5 miles from my house. I go there maybe once a week, and I sat down and I heard a guy watching one of my videos in the booth
Oh,
across from me, and he like looks up and
no way.
he's like, yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
oh
That's
my
awesome.
god, yeah,
That's
yep,
that's awesome. I mean, I've heard a lot of people getting recognized, you know, in the grocery store or
yeah,
whatever it is, and that's
yeah,
pretty cool. But when you hear
yeah.
your own voice on another video that someone's watching in a
It's
booth
weird.
next to you,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And that was early on. I've had a few other times where people are like, you're the YouTube guy, the truck insurance guy." It's like, I guess
Yeah,
I'm just
doing
Daniel.
something right.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
you essentially you opened up that channel January, January 2020? Is that
21.
right? 21, 21.
21. Yep.
And then you basically saw instant success from that, right? In terms of the response that
Pretty
you were fascinating.
pretty close to it. Yeah, some of the videos got shared around some Facebook groups, and that's what really helped it take off, like the Facebook trucking groups. Like, surprisingly, Facebook is enormous for truckers. Like, and I get it. Like, there's a whole lot of like relationship building and stuff that goes in there,
Yeah.
and it's great for their business. I think it's awesome that there's like that kind of community. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so some or several people started sharing some videos that I had made, and then that kicked off just a lot of business. I did for
So
February. I think we. Oh, go ahead.
how did that translate from the YouTube video to them just calling you? Did you have a process in place to kind of walk them down this path for to convert them into a lead? What did that
Yeah.
look like from there?
So from the very beginning, before I even did the YouTube channel, I built out my website so that it would be fairly functional with quote
Okay.
forms, like requesting endorsements, COIs, that type of thing. And I was constantly working to improve it to, again, keep everything lean and efficient. Um, and then shortly after the YouTube channel started kicking off, I went to Gravity Certs and had them like revamp my website and do this API between the website and my management system, Now Certs. Beautiful
Okay.
thing, highly recommend it.
Yeah.
It's so powerful, like it helps with the process. But the process, like initially, before I even set up Calendly, was just, like, hey, if I thought I could get them to fill out the quote form, I would. Plus, it was already linked on the YouTube videos and all over the website. So I was getting calls like in two places. Like someone just watched a video and has questions, they want to talk first. Sometimes they wanted quotes. And initially I was doing that because I wasn't that busy yet. But then it
Yeah.
got to the point where Calendly kicked in and they have to use the quote form online. Like we don't do quotes over the phone, period, at all.
Yeah.
They have to submit them online. And that, again, that's another little filter in finding those like A clients, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's been very powerful. Conversion rate on that over the past 2 years is, really close to 30% for everybody starting the quote form. So, and that's, yeah, it's awesome. Like
So you evolved so quickly that you were able to
yeah,
be selective and to say, this is how we do business. And it's going to come through this quote form, for us to get
yeah,
set up, which is beautiful. So you were growing so quickly, and initially it was you were all by yourself
hmm
handling these, and like
yeah,
we talked about before, you're working 16 to 20-hour days.
yeah.
When did
I was
you
tired. I'm so tired.
well, to give you an idea, and like you
I can't.
posted in one of our IAOA Facebook groups, after your I forget where you were after the first year. After your second year in business, you were over 5 million in premium. So that is
Yeah,
enormous growth. At what point
yeah.
did you hire your first person?
I hired the first two people a week apart, and that was in May of 21.
May of
And
21.
I wasn't like, I don't have a finance background or anything. This is just like, all right, let's really try and nail this down and figure out what's going to make sense financially to start hiring people. And like, at what point am I going to kill myself working and just
Yeah,
die from exhaustion? and I had my brother's one of them, and then there was another agent that I hired away from a different agency. That was another kind of point to make for keeping things efficient. I knew people that knew systems that I was already using, so it was
yeah,
like cut down on
huge.
training time. Not a whole lot of training requirements going to be really important to this, because if I have to stop what I'm doing and slow down the income, then that's going to hurt hiring some, like it's going to
Yeah,
snowball down. I need to snowball up. like um so I was a little nervous, but timing was right for both of them to make the switch. And man, I did maybe close to 300,000 in February, and then like 450,000 in premium in March, and then almost 800,000 in April. So I had a nice little nest egg saved up at that point. And the
yeah,
other thing was we set up all these affiliate deals for vendors, for truckers, that I linked to in the YouTube videos. So that was really kicking off too. And we ended up doing over 100,000 in just affiliate revenue the first year.
N-
So that was like a really nice supplement to hire people, because there's no chargebacks on affiliate revenue.
yeah,
And like that extra revenue, I mean, that's like two solid little salaries for people getting
yeah.
started. Um,
So
that
this
that
all
helped us
happened
out
so
big time.
fast. I mean,
Yeah,
this is within six 6 months of you opening your doors,
yeah,
correct?
pretty much. Yeah.
So you had, I mean, you were smart enough and understood enough to set up the affiliate deals. So now,
Yeah.
how does that work? Did you go to them
All of them
and
are a little different. Now we have some that come to us, which is really cool.
mm,
Just because the we're like 14,400 subscribers or something at this point, so we get some attention, right, from different vendors. But I went to the ones that I found were like preferred by our customers, people, because I just went to customers and started surveying like, who do you use for this, who do you use for that, and like, who else have you used, have you had any good experiences, bad experiences, all that, just general little survey to figure out who's the best vendors. Because like, if I point people towards the best vendors, they're more likely to stay in business, keep their policies, and continue renewing. And it also adds this like really sticky element where like retention is not so much an issue for us. um our retention's super duper high on people that survive. Like, obviously a lot of new venture truckers fail, but the ones that stay
mhm,
in business, I mean, we lost 4 customers to other agents last year.
mhm. Wow,
That's nuts. Yeah. Yeah,
it's
it was only 4.
yeah,
Yeah.
extremely low number.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
for
Yeah.
so your problems are almost reverse of what all the other, scratch agents are. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, most scratch agents, they're waiting around to determine, when should I hire someone? I think I'm getting close. Um, you know,
Mhm.
you had to hire out of necessity.
Yeah.
I mean, because you were blowing up so
I was blown
quickly.
up and I was about to start losing a lot of opportunities. Because
Yeah,
it just kept increasing. The other thing was, because I linked our website from YouTube, and I also create like blogs about each YouTube video, not every YouTube video, but a few of them.
yeah,
Our organic SEO started growing. So I was getting quite a few hits. Like, I think right now, if you go and like do the uh, whatever type of search to figure out where we're at on Google, we're on the second page, and I've never paid for any marketing. Like, it's all just organic, which is really
second
cool. And
page or like this.
second page, yeah, I
Okay,
think we're towards the top of the second page. It depends on how you do it. You have to like do it from like, if you're signed into Google, you have to sign out. There's a way to, or if you go like to one of the SEO search research things, they can figure out your
okay,
page placement. It's different for everybody depending on your search history. It's big algorithm into all that. But our SEO is really good, and we started getting like 5 to 8,000 visitors a month, and I think we peaked at like 11,000 is the most we've ever had, unique visitors to our website in a single month. It's pretty nuts, which uh, which has been really helpful too. Like, there's way more affiliate deals than policies, right? Like, so obviously a lot of, and that was another thing. We started with 3 states. So
yes,
YouTube channels nationwide. So I quickly
yeah,
found another agency to partner with that was nationwide. And I even set this up so it was automated. Someone fills out the quote form, it automatically refers or sends the quote to that other agency and lets the prospect know who's going to be contacting them, with like contact info if they want to call ahead of time, or anything like that. Um, Gravity Forms, which is the forms in our website, has been super
mhm,
powerful. I mean,
yeah,
it's more than just quoting. We do a lot of other stuff. Um, Anything we can help automate for customers, we do. Like, we even have a W-9 form, or yeah, W-9. So like,
W9.
a lot of times people, especially when they're getting started, need COIs, and they've never filled out a W-9 before. And so they're like, "Can you help with this?" It's like, "Sure, I can build this real quick. Here's the link.
Yeah.
Use it all you want." Yeah. So
When
pretty
did you
simple.
decide? And we were talking before that did you start in three different states from
I
the very
started
beginning?
in North South Carolina and Georgia.
Okay,
Um, And
and
then I started adding states as fast as Progressive would let me, which was a little slow to start,
yeah,
right?
right,
Like, yeah. Now finally we're like in every state, but it's taken 2 years to get there.
yeah. So you may get a lead from Washington State,
Right.
and
Yep.
now does it differ? Do the insurance rules and policies, do they differ much from state to state like they do on the
Yeah,
personal line side, or is it?
they can like limits, and then like, Florida's got the PIP, and there's a bunch of little one-off things, but all that's conditional on our quote form. Um And then, like, obviously, when you go to quote, like, if it's not in our quote form and it's like something that's standard to a specific state, like, you just work with that as you go.
Yeah. Um, s- how is the service load in the transportation industry? Is it pretty heavy? I know initially there's some COIs that you have to handle.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's setting up a new account, right? There's quite a bit of service work in the very beginning, no matter what type of account it is, right? Because they're going to need a bunch of COIs. They might need some specific things around lenders for their equipment. That's pretty standard. Then you've got the ambitious people and the fleets, right? So there's guys that start with one truck and want to add 10 trucks in the first month. You got to help those guys pump the brakes to begin with, because they're going to run out of insurance options when they start burning those policies up. So there's a lot, again, expectation setting super important in the very beginning from inception.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of that. Because someone will request a quote for a new venture with like 10 trucks, and it's like, okay, do you have like a investment firm behind you? Like, what are you doing here? Like, this is like, nobody starts with
Yeah.
10 trucks. Okay.
Yeah.
you know, or I've seen one where someone was like, yeah, I'm looking to build a 50 fleet truck or 50 truck fleet in the first year. It's like, where are you going to find an insurance company that's willing to do that? Right.
Yeah.
What's your background in or what's your background in trucking? Oh, I drove a truck for a year. Oh, okay, cool. Well,
Uh,
we're gonna reset that expectation a little bit. The service
walk
work
me
can be
th
nuts, though. The
Yeah.
service work can be
Okay.
really heavy, and so the previous agency I worked for, we did a lot of MGA brokerage work,
Yeah.
and you'd have these waves. You'd sell some policies, and then you'd get stuck with service work, and then you'd sell some policies, you get stuck with service work. So it was not
Yeah.
much consistency, right? And like the hurry up and wait with underwriters, premium finance companies, all that, like it's a nightmare, especially when people start making changes and trying to, like here's a scenario. Somebody gets Progressive their first year in business, and they hate Progressive because it's so expensive, which is really a reflection of themselves, because
Right.
Progressive rates on credit and MVR more than anything else. So like,
Yeah.
if you're starting off with either of those bad, you're putting yourself in a bad situation. So, but they start with Progressive, and anytime they need to make a change, it's super fast, easy. They get their bill, even though they hate it, whatever, and then they go from what they presume to be bad to worse when they switch over to a policy that's written under an MGA, because then when they need to make a change, they don't get an answer right away.
No.
And then they're dealing with a finance company. They don't know who that is or who their actual insurance company is. They're just
Right.
pissed off at their agent because nothing's working the way they want it. So like, and the agent's freaking out, and like, there's a whole bunch of bad scenarios there. So we stay away from that.
Yeah.
For us, service work today with, almost 5.5 million in the book, I have one CSR, and most of the time she's not bogged down. She's
Really?
normally operating at like 70 to 80%. So she has a little
Okay.
bit of free time throughout the day. It's because we've
Okay.
stuck to direct carriers. Kana does our quoting, and she kind of backs Lindsay up, the CSR, whenever she does like start to get a bunch of phone calls. But otherwise, like, it's pretty breezy. It's not too bad.
Y
Everybody
Yeah,
loves the
so
job here. Yeah.
let's talk about your team and your process. You have a team of 4,
Mhm.
right? Um,
Very
so
different
let's
than your traditional agency.
Correct. Yeah, so let's talk
Yeah.
about your process from the beginning, from the sales process when someone comes in the door, where that
Yeah.
lead goes, um, how it works, and then how it's
Yeah.
serviced.
So like, most people are coming from YouTube, and they fill out a quote form. They might not fill out a quote form before they schedule a consultation call, right? That's just through Calendly. There's links for that on the YouTube videos, on our website, and our email signatures, everywhere. So lots of exposure to all these links, right? So it's easily accessible. It's not something that
So
I got to
there's a
go
link right on or right in the description of
YouTube
or
video.
there's a yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
So they might go from the YouTube channel straight to the website and then schedule a call. They might schedule a call straight off the YouTube video in the description. But a lot of time people are scheduling these consultation calls where we're just answering questions about, whatever they have around starting their business and getting insurance, which is really just like a traditional discovery call in a sales process, like,
Yeah.
qualifying the lead, right? And for us, it's that, and then also like, okay, so we like to touch base on who they're going to use for vendors, because that's affiliate revenue for us. But it's also, again, if they pick the right vendors, they're more likely to stay in business. If they pick the wrong vendors, it could contribute to them failing. So we want to make sure they're going in the right direction there as well. So that's the consultation calls, and like we do that for free. We don't charge for consulting.
Yeah.
Which, like, if you go look, there's a lot of truckers on YouTube that offer consulting, and they charge just stupid money for it. And it's like, well, you could go pay them, and they've started one trucking company, or you come get a call with us for free, and we started hundreds. Like,
Yeah.
help start hundreds. Yeah. So that's it's pretty beneficial there. So you come in, you either do a call, or you go ahead and submit your quote form. And then once we get quotes put together, there's this proposal system on the back end of our website where we put, if there's 3 quotes, we put them in there and we email that out. It emails and texts at the same time. And then you can see like 3 quotes side by side, all the coverages, endorsements, everything, billing, all that right there. PDFs are attached. It's really awesome. That is really helpful, because like what I was doing before was just emailing out the quotes, like with a PDF attachment to a regular email, and like trying to explain this and wasting time writing a lot of stuff for people that might not ever reply. But on our proposal page, every proposal that goes out is just a unique link for their quotes. And at the bottom is the Calendly calendar, again, for them to schedule a quote review call. And from there, they can, review the quote, whatever. If they want to bind, we'll go ahead and do it at that point, or we'll schedule another call for when they're ready to. We try to push for that. That way, it's just, everything needs to be structured, right? And if we can help people do that, it normally equates to success in their business.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's kind of it. But all right. So quote comes in, Kana's on the backside doing quotes. Lindsay's not really involved in the beginning, like onboarding process. The consultation, quote review, the policy purchase calls, those are all like categories of calls in Calendly for us. Nick and I run those. For the first year, it was kind of evenly spread. At this point, I deal with a lot of other stuff and back up everybody, essentially. I'm just normally putting out fires and trying to fix things and, make the improvements. But right now it's like 80-20. So basically, like when Nick's schedule for the day fills up, then it'll start scheduling calls for me.
Okay.
Lindsay helps with all the service work and then kind of like initiating renewals. So Kana still quotes, but there's a quote or a renewal review call that they get emailed out prior to renewal. Basically, if they've got a policy that is like through Progressive and they have IVANS downloads, as soon as their quote comes in from that, it triggers an email that says, hey, schedule this review call. If they're on a policy that's not, through downloads into our management system, then it's like automatically at 60 days. So she'll do this call, kind of review everything, make sure everything's up to date, and then hand that off to Kana to quote, and then Nick to bind again if they need to bind. If they stay with Progressive, it's just automatically renews, which is another time saver. So
Yeah.
we do shop though. We shop around, see, try and keep them as low as possible if we can, or better coverage, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the onboarding process after that? They issue the policy.
Okay.
And then they're going to need a certificate, I'd imagine.
So we set them up in NowCerts as soon as, if there is a download related that comes in normally the next day, we set all that up and give them access. There's a client side to NowCerts, so they can issue their own certificates. And of course, there's an automatic email that goes out for that with a video attached, like how to do your own certificates.
Yeah.
But we preface it like when part of our bind, like little checklist, is talk about how certificates are going to work. And it's like, look, there's 4 of us here. All of us can send certificates if we need to. We all share one inbox, right? Like you're going to email office at Charles String every single time you need to communicate with us. Nice. We have one phone number that all of us answer. So communications are synonymous, right? Like are singular, right? We don't have to go find out who called who, and there's also not that like, that's my client, that's your client, I'm not helping them. We don't have any of that, right? Like I'm not dealing with that. We also don't pay commissions. We can kind of talk about that. I have my philosophy on that. We'll circle back to that in a second. But so it's team effort, right? And that we also like have unlimited time off, but it's like there's a flip side to it. Like take off whenever you want, but understand like you're putting more on the team, and when you get back, there's probably going to be more for you to do. So like, like be smart about it. And it works really well. Like we have no problems with that. The whole no commission thing is like there's no outbound sales process, right? Like we don't follow up, period. That's another thing. Once we send a proposal, that's it. There's no drip campaign, there's no calls, there's
Yeah.
no please buy the policy, dear God, please. None of that, because then you're gonna catch B's, C's, and D's, right? Like you don't want those.
Yeah.
The A's want to work with you because you're good.
Yeah.
So only invite the A's, right? Like
Again,
um
you're another way that you're opposite of the rest of us in that you have this selection and these people
yeah,
are coming to you,
yeah.
which is
Yeah, well, if you
in
think
the
about it too, like even if you didn't have a YouTube channel and the sales process, right? Like if you chase this BCDs, right? You're gonna miss A's while you're chasing the lower, it's probably the lower hanging fruit, but the fruit that doesn't taste as good, right? Um, so it's we're fortunate, right? Like we have all this inbound. It's pretty awesome.
yeah.
But like if I was going to do this over again and I didn't have that, I would make sure majority of my focus as far as marketing goes is, and like my processes are built around generating some sort of inbound system. I feel
Yeah.
like that's, especially if you're
Yeah.
starting from scratch, like figure
Yeah.
that out. That should be your bread
Yeah.
and butter.
Let's touch on the YouTube channel a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
So you started basically January of 21. You grew to monetization in, would you say, 60 days?
61 days I was monetized. Yeah.
61 days, which for
Yeah.
those
And
that don't know,
yeah, it's
yeah, it's 4,000 hours watched and 1,000 subscribers,
yeah.
correct?
Yep.
And now you're at about 14,500 subscribers.
Close to
And
it. Yeah.
I don't know what the hours watch. So talk a little bit about your
Actually,
strategy of YouTube. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll talk about that for a second. It's an interesting
Yeah,
thing, the watch hours, right? So if you work 40 hours a week, which I know if you're an agency owner, you might work more than that, but let's just call it 40 hours a week, and you actually spend 40 hours a week prospecting, right? That's 2,080 hours a year if you don't take any time off and you don't miss any days of, Monday through Friday. I have over 45,000 watch hours on YouTube at this point, and that's mostly prospecting, right? Like I'm helping
yeah,
invite people in to do business with us. So like if you want to multiply your time as an individual, create video content. Like that's key because
mm,
people can watch it around the clock, and like you're multiplying yourself that way. Like a lot of people are always like, "Oh, I wish I could clone myself." Like, well, you can clone parts of yourself,
yeah,
parts of the things you do. Like try to reduce your repetitive conversations and make videos with those. Like it's simple formula. And it's nothing I mastermind. It's just what I kind of stumbled into.
yeah,
Very, very thankful, fortunate.
yeah. Which is, yeah, smart. It's smart. So what was kind of your strategy with your YouTube page? You're just starting out, so
Yeah.
so
At
yeah,
first, it was just like get info out there so people quit calling with the wrong info. But then I realized, like, I need to build it around what the insurance companies can take. And at first, of course, it was just Progressive, which they can handle a lot, like big appetite guide. But like, what are they good at? Like, where are their sweet spots? And like this for any insurance company, if you're creating video content, let your I say I have like layers to the videos. The base layer should always be like an appetite guide. Like who are you talking to? Do they fit an appetite guide, right, of whatever type of policy you're trying to sell? So layer one, appetite guide. Layer two, kind of a mixture of things like what's your ideal client? Like how could you cross paths with what your ideal client is looking for or trying to learn about, right? And then like another layer is trending topics. If you can find like pain points or things that people are looking up, researching, like again, you're going to be targeting people that are self-educating, and that's going to save you a lot of time in conversations and help you
yeah,
find those better clients. And not to say that it's only going to find better clients. It's going to take clients that might have been a B or a C and turn them into an A. I hate the rating system, but it makes sense here
yeah.
if I'm going to
I hear
describe
you.
it. Um, so yeah, I mean that's kind of the formula to the videos is, and then build resources, have resources. So like if all you're going to do is talk about insurance, you're going to lose a lot of people. So talk about other things as they relate to insurance, right? So I did a lot of how-to videos around things truckers have to do and related it back to insurance and help people with resources with like little easy to do things. Like I mentioned the W-9 form. That took me 20 minutes to build on the website. Like, and it probably took me an hour to figure out watching other YouTube videos how to do that. Right. So like if I have an hour and a half in something that adds value to our business and it's a free tool for them to use and something I don't have to ever touch again, like that just makes us look better and builds trust and that like stickiness for retention. Like,
Credibility. You're
yeah,
providing value right off the bat by educating not only about insurance, but everything that the trucker basically has to know about their trucking business, whether that's
yeah.
insurance or not.
Which then relates back to making sure they're successful, making sure that they are at least to some degree self-sufficient too. Like if they, everybody knows, especially in the commercial side, like there's clients that need a lot of hand holding, and it's like how much money am I losing holding your hand right now? Like I want
Yeah.
to hold your hand and help you because I like helping people, but at the same time, like we both have businesses to run.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
You have the luxury of not putting that time and wasting, potentially wasting your time, because you have an abundance of people knocking at your door, wanting to purchase insurance from you. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. Let's talk a little bit about, as far as the monetization of
Mhm.
YouTube.
Yeah.
What does that look like? I mean, a lot of people achieve monetization and they're maybe on a real base level. What can someone see when they have 14,000 subscribers? I suppose it depends on your watch hours and not so much on
Yeah.
how many subscribers you have.
And like, so there's some videos that like you have the option to turn on monetization on individual videos. So there's
Oh,
some
okay.
videos where we haven't turned monetization on because it is really important for them to learn how to do something like our COI video, like the how to do your own COI video. There's no monetization on that. Um, so but like watch hours, all that, like I don't make that much off of YouTube. I
Okay.
think the most we've made in a month from like ad share is like 700 or 800 bucks.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah,
So
that's
it's
not a
mainly
crazy
from the
thing.
affiliate.
The affiliates make up the majority. Yeah. I mean,
So
we have RTS for freight factoring and fuel cards, right? And that's also the factoring is a recurring revenue. So as long as they stay a client of RTS, we continue to, there's a revenue share there.
hmm.
I mean, and then
So
motive
how
for
exactly does that work? The
we
whole affiliate
send
piece of it. Yeah.
Okay, so like there's links in the YouTube videos, and then on our quote form at the very end, it's like, would you like to hear from any of our affiliates? And there's a few in there for they can check box, and then they'll get contact info to the affiliates, all that. So it's basically like if the affiliate closes a deal with them and it's tagged to us because we have like individual links that track like RTS, for instance, if they go to the landing page for RTS, fill out the contact form, it tags Charles String Inc. to their account, which I'm pretty sure they use Salesforce. So whoever whoever closes the deal at RTS with that,
Got it.
um, that's how it credits us, and that's how it works for most affiliates. There's normally a landing page, contact form, and it's just all tracked based on the individual links.
Okay.
Yep. And
Yeah.
then like the deals can be wildly different. So some pay like a flat fee for a closed referral, some pay for a flat fee for just a lead, which is kind of crazy. And then some pay like a percentage of sales. There's a lot. I think we might have 30 different affiliates at this point. I
Wow.
mean, even like
Wow.
tires, like truckers go through a lot of tires. We've got some good deals on tires through some of our affiliates. Yeah.
It's incredible. Hey, we're
Yeah.
short on time here for last question. What
Okay.
is next for Charles String in 2023?
So last year was like get into every state, get licensed every state and have markets. This year is automate quoting, continue growing. Because automating quoting is our biggest time suck. So, or like quoting is our biggest time suck. So we got to try and automate that. And along the way, I've met other agents that are in similar space, and I think one day I might get into some consulting, but for now it's like it's really cool to like just build these relationships with other agencies and kind of
Yeah.
spitball brainstorm ways that we do things. And I don't look at it like competition between anyone. It's more collaboration
Yeah.
because if I had 1% share of all truckers, I would die. I would have too much work, like, so 1% could kill us. Like it'd probably put us out of business. Like, so I'm
Wow.
not worried about competition. I
Yeah.
think it's much more beneficial for us to collaborate.
Yeah.
And if more
Agreed.
people do this like opposite sales approach instead of going, outbound, make it more inbound, I think that could shift perspective of how this should work. And I think that would benefit everyone. Because like overall, our client experience is awesome. Like people in general like the way we do business. If they don't, then we don't ever hear about it because they don't make it through the steps like scheduling calls, online quote forms, all that. Right. I wish more agents did that. Honestly, it would help everybody.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I know that's kind of hard, but there's ways to it. But yeah, 2023, automate our quoting, continue growing, and expand into more niche trucking. Like right now, we kind of cargo van, box truck, semi truck, a little bit of intermodal. But I want to do more like of the niche stuff, like intermodal, like the oil filled, dirt, sand, gravel, for
Mm.
everything in between. Just continue expanding and content around all of that.
Yeah, I get this. I got the sense in, prepping, for our podcast a little bit that you might need another challenge. Is that accurate? Would you say? I mean,
It never ends.
yeah. No, I just think I think you're one of those people where it's kind of always going to be, well, what's next? What can I
Yeah,
do
I
next?
I'll die working. That'll happen. I I don't view complacency as a
Yeah.
favorite thing for myself. So there's no stopping. It's just continue growing and making things. You can improve anything. So
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah. All right, man. I want to thank you for your time. I want to get you out of here. Um, I know you're under a time crunch. So,
No,
yeah,
I
really
appreciate it.
appreciate you being here, spending some time with us today. Everybody else, thank you for listening to another episode of the Agents to Owners podcast. And we're going to see you next time. Thanks,
All right.
Daniel.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Brad.